Alright, recording? Yes, yes. Alright.
Camera one, recording.
What's up? No, that's all we need is camera.
Very cool. All right. Actually, wait. I'll start. All the way to the beginning.
What?
And we are now live from the boys.
The boys. This is Basik Konversations. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I'm here with my man's natties.
Howdy, peoples.
As you always know, it doesn't even feel like a week, man. As I was thinking about it, but how's your week been since last Thursday?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It hasn't really been like a week. I feel like ever since the last pod, like I got locked in, and then kind of we just found ourselves here. I will say there was a highlight though. I did a show on the 17th, which was this past Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was with 3 artists that are pretty good, close friends of mine. Alex Owiza,
Okay.
Piper Byers, and Ashton Edminster, which for all those listening, go check them out on Spotify and every other place that streams. They got music out. They're active artists, and they make very, very fun music. But yeah, it was a release party show for Ashton because we just dropped a mixtape that we've been working on for the past 2 years. And it's now for the people to listen to.
Dang.
And so, yeah, we did like a release show with it. It was actually the last live show I'm personally going to be doing for a while in terms of musical performance.
Damn.
Which is wild because you've seen me in all the iterations of like live shit I've done. So
how does that feel?
I don't know. Kind of still dealing with the repercussions of it, and not in a bad way, by the way. But like I'm in a very cool spot to where I could just lock in and focus on certain shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not that to say that the responsibilities for that didn't allow me for it, but because the kind of guy I am, whenever I'm part of something, I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it's just less things I have to think about more and more.
Yeah.
Which has kind of been a pattern for the past like 6 months, low key.
Yeah. So, thinking about a lot
like,
of things.
No, just like less responsibility on certain things.
Okay,
so
that's good, man.
I can do the less that kind of matters.
Yeah.
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Pareto principle type shit. But yeah, dude, my week, bro, honestly, in a flash, like we're pretty much here 24/7 outside like the weekends. And just for those listening that don't know what here is, we're at Creatorverse. Check us out on all social medias. So like outside of being here 24/7 working on music and different types of content, it's like literally I don't think I remember anything that happened outside of that show, and then now we're here. And that was like last Saturday. You know what I mean?
Last Saturday.
Yeah,
and that was here in Dallas?
Yes, it was actually in Ruins. Shout out to Ruins, one of the fun venues. Ruins. And also shout out to Garrett, sound guy. I don't even know if he'll be watching this, but shout out to him. Great sound guy.
My week.
That was my week. How was your week?
My week, it went by in a flash. I mean, this past weekend was actually my son's birthday. That was, I think that was
no way. Elias's birthday was this weekend?
Yeah, this last weekend.
Dang, shout out to Silvertooth, bro.
His birthday was Monday. We went to lunch at Olive Garden.
Oh, that's a dope spot.
Yeah,
you're a good dad for that.
He likes Olive Garden.
Hey, man, you're a good dad for that, man.
Man, Olive Garden, bro. The only reason I like it, I don't mind going to it. I'll eat. I'll always eat something there. But man, I've had it for so long just because, mainly past relationships and just everyone likes Olive Garden, bro.
No, it's a thing. Like it's very much a thing.
I've been there a lot.
Yeah, I can say for certain. It's like it's a place that especially in this area, you're gonna frequent it.
I'm actually still trying to find a great local Italian spot.
Dang,
that just bombed. I'm still trying to find one because I went down to Houston, I think 2 years ago, and that shit. There's a spot. It was by the Houston's baseball field, the Houston Astro baseball field, and I loved that. We got an appetizer. I had the whole entree. Even got a dessert. It was great, bro. It was all good. I was like, yo.
Wait, you at least remember like a name?
I don't. I just remember it's by the field. I tried to remember. I did remember for a moment because I wanted to. I was like, I'm gonna come back, but eventually I forgot about it. I forgot about it, sadly.
Dang. Okay. Well, I mean, shoot. Now, the mission we have to have is to figure that out.
honestly though.
Yeah.
I wonder what Dallas has. I ain't gonna lie, cause I mean I haven't found something around Fort Worth.
Yeah, I can definitely say Arlington's got a spot. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but me and Rodrigo in our college days we used to go there,
Oh,
and it was like it's like an Italian spot,
yeah.
and like their pizza is like traditional Italian pizza, but something about that shit just like I remember going there and getting the pizza and then like the calzone
Okay.
and just being like, this feels good. Like this feels really good. So that's probably gonna be the first one on our docket. It's in Arlington. It's like not too far off of Matlock.
Would you say, if you remember, is that your favorite calzone spot?
No, there's actually a spot nearby my house.
Where? What is it called?
It is the name of an Italian man. Like,
Is it Big Joe or Mr. Joe's?
maybe it might be Mr. Joe's.
Yeah, the last calzone I had was from Big Joe's. I don't know, just now you think about it, I'm like, man, calzones, they're good, but I mean, it's always pizza for me.
I that's fair. I really do think that's more of like it's like a preference or like a conditioning thing. Like, which one have you had more of? I'm just like the way I like to eat things. I always enjoy the packaging of like stuff, like within an item. You know what I mean? Like I love peanut butter and jelly. Don't get it twisted.
Boom.
But Uncrustable.
Oh,
but you see what I'm saying?
You
though?
ever have it outside in the fridge from the outside?
Yes.
Cold desserts, people.
Man,
Cold,
come on.
I don't know, but cold desserts.
That's a conversation within and of itself, man. Cold dessert, like, hey, if it's not fresh, like cold, and it is an item that should be, you are losing points of flavor off of it. Sorry, not sorry.
Yo, thinking about that. Yes, like brownies, fucking Uncrustables.
Man, yeah.
Gansitos. Have you had a Gansitos?
I don't think I have. What's a Gansito?
Bro, it's the Mexican version of a Twinkie.
Oh fuck no! I
See now I gotta buy some, and I'm probably gonna try to buy some. I would probably gonna buy some and some pinguinos, and whenever you're over, I'm a remember and give it. We're gonna share.
Heck yeah, man! No, we got to.
Yeah,
we have to.
I don't eat that shit too often, but that shit is fire outside of the freezer.
I mean, bro, just even the description, like a Mexican Twinkie, or
okay, it's like chocolate on the outside, some cream. Some white cream, then some jelly, some like a little jelly layer, and then the bread.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. That sounds phenomenal. Dang, but that started. I love how we start on Italian food and then we find ourselves in Gansitos. But just know, fans, we're probably going to be on a journey to find Italian food. So anybody listening, send us suggestions.
Yo, yes.
DFW Metroplex though.
DFW, yeah.
I was about to get a nigga from.
I mean, you can say around Texas, but that'll just be a bucket list thing where we eventually go by.
We may not.
But
okay, so we had a fun week. It wasn't as bad, as maybe we thought, or not bad, but like
Yo, bro, we did his birthday party at Altitude trampoline park.
First of all, that's
every time, bro. Well, not every time. Just sometimes. But this day, they had like 33 birthdays scheduled the whole day.
God dang.
Bro, it was fucking sea of kids. Just kids everywhere. I wanted to jump, but I didn't jump because, like, where was I going to jump? There's just kids everywhere.
Goodness
I was going to hurt one of them if I tried.
Dude, that's typically why I would avoid those type of places on birthdays. But at the same point, the kids want to go to places that. So it's like, bro.
It was fun for the kids. Don't get me wrong, but
in my head, I'm just like, bro, one of you will do something wild.
Yeah,
and it doesn't even have to be for your squad. That's the crazy shit. It just has to be somebody in the vicinity, But also too, it's not like shit be happening that often. At least I don't think.
Nah, I mean, no, I've never seen some wild shit happen there. They have dodgeball, and I'm surprised not too much wild shit happens there. It seems like everyone's pretty careful with each other.
Okay.
But you would expect like a fucking someone just a pitcher's arm and just slang it to some kid's face.
It's just some wild shit. Yeah, I would think because like it's just I don't know that I watch too much anime. So like every time like there's like a mundane situation, I'm always thinking of like a very surreal like reality like thing that can happen.
Like, what's the most chaotic thing that can happen right now?
Shit, that's it.
Like having an old anime battle in his head.
Yeah, deadass. Like you see, like this
can
dude steals his girl because like they're just like hanging out, and it's like now it's a battle of minds. Oh my gosh, romance manga on steroids.
romance podcasts. So I mean, yeah, overall, I guess that's my week overall.
Okay. We had
in
some
a
pretty
sense,
solid weeks.
that was the most interesting thing. I'm actually supposed to go to Hyena Comedy Club tomorrow.
Oh, dude, that's a good one. Who you seen?
The person's named John Stringer.
John Stringer. Haven't heard.
I
But
watched the clip. I watched 2 clips on YouTube. He seems all right.
okay.
So I'm hoping the lineup itself is great, and I hope he's a good one.
I mean, Hyena's been a solid spot.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's always been a solid spot, so I'm gonna enjoy myself either way.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Hyena's Club.
Yes,
and that's the one in Fort Worth, right? That's in Fort Worth?
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. We in
Shit,
Dallas.
that sounds fun, Brody. Well, you about to have a good
I know
one.
it's been a while since I've been there, so I'm definitely excited.
I'm gonna live vicariously through you. But all right, what we got on today's episode on the pod, man? What we talking? What we doing?
My God. Well, besides the week, I was actually thinking about it. I think it was today. Just in a manner, like as you go through, I guess, making connections. You form bonds with people, and sometimes they do get deep. But then as you grow as well, overall growth, at what point for you do you start like distancing yourself from relationships? And at the same time, would you also say, is it no hard feelings, or is it sometimes it comes into where, okay, now you're not playing a part to my growth, so now we do have to cut things rather.
Oh man, that's tricky, dude. Because I don't know. When it comes to like relationships, I hate my answers with these type of questions because I almost always start with it depends, right? I think it's just because I'm old now, like, you know what I mean. But let's get into it, right? Like, let's not say let's say we assume it depends, right?
Uh-huh.
But in a more general sense, I feel relationships are kind of like physics.
Yeah. So actually, no, keep going.
No, because like check it out. So hear me out. Hear me out. The logic I have behind this statement is an action is constantly in motion until another force is acted upon it. Right. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the laws of physics, and I think relationships follow that law. And it's this idea of, let's say, for instance, me and you. Let's use us as an example. We became associates through bogus.
Yeah.
Right. So like we knew of each other and were aware of each other because we had a mutual friend. Yep. Which to me, the mutual friend does not make you friends. My world, obviously, other people have different criteria, right?
Yep.
But I think it makes you associates.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, and I'm not like ranking hard per se. Like this is not like power leveling, but in terms of like
MySpace top friends.
right. But in terms of just relationships and just the dynamic of it and the physics of it in my head, it's like you can start as an associate, you can meet as a warm connect, or you can meet as a cold connect. However you meet somebody, if rapport is established or a certain level of interest in what either other party does, I think the moment interest or commonality is established, you now become a friend. Mm-hmm. That's my personal thought process on it. So if we find that connector gap, whether it's a TV show, whether it's trauma, which is a more severe bond, I would say.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? It's just like whatever that case may be, I think that establishes a friendship. Mm-hmm. And then from the established friendship and the depth, I think is a matter of time and intentionality. Mm-hmm. And so for me, once that's established, the concept of being a friend, like that, that similarity or whatever the case may be, I think the physics of it should never stop unless there's another force. And what would be another force? Like, let's say, for instance, we became friends, whatever. Well, let's say you grow. Let's say you expand your perspective, or you come into a knowledge of self, or you change your understanding of self, whatever the case may be. Now, there's a new paradigm because the person I met is a different person now. Not physically, but mentally, maybe spiritually. You know what I mean? Like there'll be like a nuanced change. And that to me is enough of an outside force that depending on the severity and whether it's aligned or misaligned, we might not be in the same vicinity. But to me, that doesn't stop the relationship. I feel if there's a time where we're separated and it's long enough, it can decrease the depth of the relationship because you're not making as many memories. There's not as many conversations. So like it's literally like a physics. Like the physics of it slows down to the point to where it can halt and then maybe go backwards, right? But that's just because an opposite force is acting upon it. But if there isn't, and you're constantly in communication, but maybe haven't talked in a long time, and then you meet again, to me, it should simply move you back forward.
Yeah.
So it's like, to your initial point and the initial question now, when does it look like to cut off? I think cutting off doesn't happen unless somebody just becomes so misaligned, or maybe you thought you were growing in a pattern. And then once you come to a full knowing of a person for whatever variety of reasons, I feel that's when cutting off is introduced. Because I've had it, for instance, in my life, because I can, at this point, I can only speak from personal experience, right? In my life, I've had to cut people off, but I was never able to truly cut off at the heel until recent years. Like I want to say like 2021 maybe. Like to where I could actually have the hard conversation and talk to somebody like, hey, because of this, we have to distance ourselves and we can't be connected.
Yeah.
Like type shit.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of maturity to have that conversation regardless of the person. But even more so, I feel like maybe not so much maturity, but clarity on the conversation and the split. Because I really do think it's a severe thing to be like, hey, I don't like you. I'm not going to be your friend no more.
Yeah.
Which I've actually, not only have I been on the giving end of that, but I've also seen someone else do that to someone else, both of which who I know. And I'm very close to both parties. And I had to make a very quick decision on whose life do I stay more present in.
Yeah.
Because I haven't not been present in both persons' lives.
Okay.
So it's even though they cut off, it didn't cut me off.
Yeah.
So it's like the only conduit between the two would be me.
Yeah.
So it's I love that question. It's a very it's a very dynamic question.
I mean, I don't mean to. So in that kind of situation, do you feel like if you had to choose one or the other, is it one of those situations where you actually can't be just like a bystander and be like, okay, it just okay. So this is where I get like this is kind of where I get to closeness of relationships, because at the same time you can I feel like you could still keep it neutral with both parties on the like this situation, but like in the end you do how you say you do make a choice where you are more involved in one of the other person's life. And so now
I would agree.
In the end, that's where sometimes it does come to the other person's part where they're like, they'll either accept like, oh, they're spending more time with that other person and I have to be okay with just seeing them when I see them, or now I'm gonna take it personally, like okay.
Which I think both can happen. Both can happen at the same time, and it can also be one or the other. I think they're not mutually exclusive, or they should be mutually exclusive. What I mean by saying that though is like, for instance, in this scenario, because I'll use the same scenario, I had to end up choosing whose side I understood to be right and wrong in the context of the scenario. Because the thing is, if I didn't know both of them to the degree in which I knew both of them, it wouldn't be too difficult to make the decision, but both are very close friends. And with both of those close friends not being able to come to an agreement and like one being very misaligned with the other, I then had to be like, okay, well, what was the cause of misalignment? And when understanding the cause of misalignment from both perspectives, to me, although I understood the other party's point, it wasn't one that I would agree with. Yeah. Like I wouldn't cut off somebody for those reasons, because I wouldn't hold myself to be so.
And I mean, okay, and you wouldn't necessarily have to cut them off even in that.
No, but it's distance. It's kind of like, I guess I'm using the distance.
Yeah, but in that situation, you wouldn't cut off that person if it's like a agree to disagree thing. Like the conversation in
it's very much an agree to disagree kind of thing.
Because of course, I think you would cut off the person if the person was just like pushing like, okay, I am right. Just blatant, I am right. Yeah,
blatant. But in this case, it was very much a disagree to disagree situation. So it wasn't a this misalignment is enough to take us out of a synchronicity. Now it did decrease our synchronicity as people, and ironically enough, I can almost argue it may have been pivotal in just our growth, but also, to be honest, our goals were eventually going to lead us apart in terms
Yeah,
of just not being in the same vicinity, not so much
exactly. Overall
relationship,
end
but
goal.
yeah, but just like in terms of like, where would you be in 10 years? Where would I be in 10 years?
Yeah,
Not, and I'm not even talking financially or anything like that, just
yeah,
purely just
no,
like
exactly.
location, right? So,
And how do you feel with stuff like that, man? That's something, and that's
what,
right.
the changing of the seasons type of thing or what?
Yeah, in that
Yeah.
sense, because like, and that's the thing. I feel like I misplaced where I say cut off because,
Uh,
I mean, sometimes I do cut people off,
which I think it's necessary at times
but
too, which we can definitely
yeah,
dive in that side
and
later.
I more so distance myself. It's just more or less I spend more time with people I feel I need to spend time with, and that provide that bring me my sense of peace and then
Uh-huh.
also growth. Uh,
Mhm.
but
Which is dope.
sh- overall, like you would still be okay seeing that other person because as you grow apart, like
Mm-hmm.
in the end, that's just how life goes. Like, how do you feel with separating people on that level? Like, what if is there people that you've grown apart from just because of life in general, where you had different paths and
I really, yeah. There are actually, I can name a couple,
Right.
like obviously from personal experience, but like there are some friends who are very, very close. Like obviously, you have the high school friends, right? Like
uh,
that group of friends that ends up, fizzling out over time
mm-hmm.
because you realize as you get older, high school and like middle school relationships typically are like engineered because of proximity effect, not necessarily because of depth.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of learn that over time,
Yeah,
right? But there are some that last because they're genuinely built on depth.
yeah,
But I have noticed like a drifting away, particularly with like career goals. Like,
uh,
but then that's tricky too because sometimes the drifting away is purely location based and not
yeah,
relationship based. So I do think it depends on the paradigm of the relationship. Like, how close are y'all? Like, let's say we're close friends, like best friends, right?
yeah,
I think there will be seasons of life, especially depending upon the type of person,
uh,
that you won't talk to each other, that you
yeah,
won't see each other. But I think like what you establish the relationship
exactly.
on is what predicates that coming back and maintaining the same
Uh-huh.
level of rapport, regardless of the duration of time. Because I got
Yeah,
my homie, like my ride or die man, Tito. Shout out to you, Tito. You know who you are, baby. Um,
Tito.
but like me and him, like once we became friends from the jump, it was like we were attached at the hip, bro. Like we
Mm-hmm.
were in bands together. Like, whenever he had girl issues, he'd tell me. I never had
Right.
bitches like that, so he never had to worry about me. But, like, you know what I mean? But it was just kind of one of them situations to where it's like, dog, like literally you can do whatever as long as you don't harm my family and become a shitty person. That, like,
Yeah.
you're my ride or die. Like I was his best man in his wedding.
Uh,
Like we got crazy memories from that. That's insane. I can't even talk about that. But like, you know what I mean? It's just there's certain people like that. And right now he's in Ohio, and we can only communicate on like Instagram through like fucking sending reels about like really sus shit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I can't wait to be a best man at a wedding, man.
dog,
That's
it's a different feeling, bro. It's
yo.
like to where you're not crying for your homie, but you're like, damn, that nigga about to do that shit for real.
So I shared this just to get off topic real quick. I shared this video to Atlas, and it was just a funeral where I think it was just a sad video or some shit about carrying a coffin, but then he was like, I would let you hold my coffin at the funeral. I said, I'm gonna drop that shit just to let you roll out. And he said, please do so people can watch me. And I was like, bitch.
Y'all's relationship is the funniest. Bro. I was like, I swear.
Fuck it.
Oh man,
Dude, what? I would feel. That's one nervous thing I would feel if I was
Oh.
carrying a coffin. I don't know how heavy a coffin is.
I mean, the human body post mortem is quite heavy. So like,
yo, what if you were the person to drop that shit, bro?
Dog,
Fuck
man.
that, bro.
I mean,
That's
definitely
God.
you're gonna make a name for yourself. That's for sure. Like you'll be memorable.
Yo.
Like everyone will be like,
Damn.
hey, remember that guy that dropped Grandpa? Like,
Yo, heartbreak.
heartbreak.
Shit, I did. The whole growing. Okay, actually, so one thing I could think of is I actually recently saw a friend of mine at the gym, an old friend, and I always have love for this guy, man. I mean, I don't know. He was one of my first closest friends in high school, and and since we graduated, I mean, he's been on his own thing doing physical sports therapy.
Got you.
And so he's just been on his path. And I think he said this last time I saw him, I think he's graduating in April. But it's just one of those things where it's like, he was definitely one of those friends I wish we could have stuck around each other more after high school. But then I kind of just accepted, like, you know, he's on his thing and I'm doing my thing. Because, I mean, our pathways didn't really align with each other with what we were doing. But it's just like, I got love for you, bro. And I'll see you when I see you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did see him. It was funny. I have seen him a few times through the last, fucking 6 years or some shit.
Got you.
That's
crazy.
But
in terms of like, actually you had enough time to interact and like.
Yeah, like what one specific moment I remember was I saw him at the, I think, Arts Festival 2 years ago. Ran into him and his girl.
Okay, that's
I was
dope.
like, I was like, Kyle. And then he was like, oh shit,
were we on?
Yeah, you were there.
Okay,
You were there.
I was about to say, like, I actually might have remembered this.
Yeah, y'all were there too. When I see you walk by, and I was like, hey.
That.
But yeah, it's just more so I don't think I've said I've had to cut people off, but I think more so when I've distanced relationships, for me it's not hard feelings, and that's why I always hope on the other end it's not hard feelings either.
Man, I get
but there
that.
is people who've taken it personally, and
well, how have you dealt with that? Like, obviously you don't have to go into detail, but what has it looked like when it gets to the point where you realize you actually have to really cut it at the root? Like, or has it ever been that bad to where you've had to, like, I'm talking like urgency, not like, oh, I have to cut them off at some point. Like, and you know it's toxic, but you stay in. I'm talking like, has there been a situation, a scenario where you're like, no, I actually have to cut this person directly, like, off, like, and I have to let them know.
Okay. I feel like this is the only example I could think of as if it was probably the most recent one, just in regards to months, because I think it's been a few months.
Okay, so this is like within the last year.
I'm not going to talk too much in detail about it because it's actually personal on other people's ends. I have this, like, friends of, you know, gamers I play with. I've known them for years. One of them, just say, he caused an issue amongst our group of friends, and the other friend, you know, shared you know, their thoughts or what happened, their experience of what happened, but they didn't want to talk about it any further. They just didn't want to do anything with our other friend anymore. And we kind of, so it's one of those situations where, do you confront the other person about it? Because I was kind of like pissed off about it. Like, damn.
Like, once you heard the situation.
Yeah, and so, like, is it one of those situations where, like, okay, do you confront the person, or the fact, like, the person just doesn't want any involvement with that person anymore, and they just, like, kind of want to let it go? And so you kind of have to respect the other person, because, like, that's their experience.
Got it.
So, like, it's that for me personally, it's like, damn, I don't want to play a part in it because the other person is kind of just let it go. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, like, damn, they shouldn't be doing that.
Correct.
So
that's
and
tricky.
so me and another friend, we were just talking in one of our little party chats, and our friend joined, and he had this misconception of everything. Because to be honest, at the time, I was busy. I was just doing work. I was spending time with family or doing other shit. So he had this misconception that nobody was, you know, speaking with him. And we were like, no, this and that, like, let it go. And then he brought up the topic of what happened.
And this was the guy who aggravated the situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so overall, just we try to let it go, but he kept pushing into this situation. So we actually talked about it, and we brought up, like, certain points and facts. And this person, I would say, was a manipulator. So they were on the defense, and overall, it's just, we called it out, and they accepted it, and they were trying to make excuses. And when you put it out on the table, that's where I'm like, okay, we can't be friends no more. Like, I didn't agree with what you did overall. I wanted to let it be just because I wanted to respect the other person's wishes. And we could have, you know, stayed friends to some extent, but now that you wanted to talk about it all, like, now
bro,
we have to stop talking.
Let's go into that further, because man, I guess I don't think this is a hot take, but it might be a hot take. I think, fuck it, it's a hot take. I'm just going to say what I think. I think it was the wrong thing to respect the other friend's decision. Hear me out.
I feel that.
Because initially I would be the same way, but because of this fucking music industry and this entertainment industry I'm in, you have to cut a bad weed at the root.
Yeah.
And especially when when you have an objective reason, it's almost your responsibility at that point. And I think it's only a responsibility if the environment that the altercation happened in was in the context of a community. Like if it wasn't in the context of a community, but rather in an event, which you'd assume an event is a community thing. Yes, but no, an event can just be an event for the sake of having a gathering, right? And I'm talking in generalities here, so people like just kind of think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because if you respect that person's opinion to let it go, sure, that's being kind to them.
Yeah.
But is it being kind to everyone else because of the situation and the severity of what it is, especially when you come to an understanding of it? Now, if you don't know the other person's side, I think it's fair to hear them out before you come to a conclusion.
Exactly.
But to be quite honest, I think based off the situation, specifically the one you were talking about in your personal situation, I think it was kind of blatant. The situation in itself was blatant enough to where both sides were pretty apparent, regardless of the justification, right?
Yeah.
So I almost feel like it's the wrong thing to respect the decision to let it go, and rather the right thing would be to address the person immediately and have a decision based off of the decision makers within that community of how to go about that.
Yeah.
Because I've had to deal with it with not toxic because that's overused word, but problematic people within a community or an operation, and having to address those people directly. And
you know I feel that. I definitely
so
feel that.
It's like it's so annoying, but like with life and experience, I think the perspective I've come to is that especially if it's blatant, I feel it's more the responsibility of the leader or whoever the fuck makes the decisions to address that, the wrongdoer or the person at fault.
I agree with you, man.
Because it's tricky, but like I say it to be somewhat of a hot take though, because in the culture we live in now, I think what would be perceived to be the right thing to do would be to respect the opinion, because it's the idea of I don't want to overstep my bounds.
Exactly.
To like almost meet a selfish need where like now I feel like that, like, you know what I mean? Because like in a manner of speaking, there is some level of selfish desire.
I mean, in the end, that's the thing too, because like if you, like you say, it's like because that's your hot take, and there's been moments where I've spoken up for others, and I guess that was one of those moments. I just decided against it, but it's a tricky situation. As to why, though. Exactly, it is a tricky situation because of the sensitivity of it. But at the same, like that's the thing, because at the same time, if you do speak up at those moments, like it feels good to speak up to that person and just call it out, get it over with, and again weed out the bad root. But then at the same time, like you would have to be okay with the person.
Consequences.
The consequences.
Yeah, and they could be vast because sometimes it can be physical.
Yeah.
Which once again, we're speaking of generalities because it can become a physical. This can be a situation where it's an altercation.
Yeah.
So the thought exercise of it all is what is optimal, what is beneficial, right? But I don't know. Even I'm a wild ass nigga. I think even in the case of an altercation, like
fuck it.
Like dead ass. Like I would really want to address it because it's just.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
I've just seen that other side of it, and it's not a fun reality. Like imagine living in like a bizarro parallel universe. I feel like that's sometimes what happens whenever like you see a decision you could have made and you make the other decision.
Yeah,
it's almost as if you're living like the bizarro universe of like fuck. I knew I picked the wrong one. Like
shit.
Like like
you can't restart it.
Yeah, no restarts, man. That's a life.
So
yeah, man. I feel like that's tricky though. Honestly, that situation that you know that friend was a tough one. Especially when it's community shit. Like I think that's the stuff.
Especially when you've known them for years and shit like that. It definitely is.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I feel like does the duration you know somebody give them that protection? Do you feel like time is a valid reason to justify people's opinions?
Opinions?
I mean, not opinions, but just in general, like
actions,
how much
no.
grace? Yeah,
opinions, perhaps so, because I mean there is that fact where you do have to respect other people's morals, values, and thoughts, but at the same time, like you have your own morals and values. So where do you cross the line at? Like, oh, hey, I really don't agree with that. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
well, what would you say is that line though? You know, like is it? Because I feel like generally speaking, as far as humanity is concerned, you would think death, right, would be the unnecessary death, like murder or genocide, right? Like
for me, I think it's context and tone, because I am a very dark, humorous person. I like to say fucked up shit sometimes. I'm sorry. I probably will never say shit like this on the podcast, but
shit gets the one guest.
Like, I game, okay? So we fuck around, okay? But
and find out.
Yes. But and overall, like, and that's why I'm actually thankful for people who have a sense of humor, because I feel like you should have, I mean, the world is dark. I feel like you should be able to have some kind of humor in this world. But there is boundaries to that humor as well. And now it comes back to tone, where, yeah, I mean, like, I think it's your tone of things on how you fuck around. Like, racism, I feel like there's some race jokes where you can, of course, the comfort level within your own friends, like you could fuck around and, do accents. Some people take accents personally when you try to do accents. And funny enough today, like, it does come into those moments where people, like, there's these two Christian people at work. One's African, and I mean the other guy's Mexican. But he started doing an African accent, and like, yeah, we laughed a little bit. But then we kind of like looked at her, and he's like, no, like, she's okay with it, and she's like, yeah, like, I'm okay with it. It's just, we're just fucking around. But of course, in other contexts, people, like, there's sometimes you do get that, like, awkward.
Yeah, no, that's kind of like one of those things from, like, I feel the tension, especially with, like, stereotypical jokes. Mm-hmm. I feel it's a matter of culture almost more than it is a matter of race, which, I mean, similar but not the same, right? Mm-hmm. Because, like, if that joke came off and everyone's looking, it's like, oh, we want to be considerate of this other person, this other culture. Mm-hmm. But then if it's like the guys and everybody's of a certain accord, it's like anything's off limits, right? Like the dark humor thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think it just depends on the culture that's bred within that community. Because, like, you're not gonna have your white friend say the N-word. But here's the thing. Your white friend will probably say the N-word depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And depending on who you are. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Like, say, for instance, like, you're a Theo Von type, right? We're talking Louisiana.
Yeah.
Cajun white dude. Yes, it's it is. You shouldn't be saying it, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if a certain guy who's not only in a certain cultural, like, similar class, like, let's say, for instance, poor white man, poor black man, both ostracized by the greater racial power or supremacist power, the case may be. Mm-hmm. Although there are still privileges the white man has over the black man purely for being white, both economically and socially are still considered in the same, and both would have synonymous cultures. Now, does that lend the right to, say, a racially charged slur that's actually a form of endearment within a subculture? Mm-hmm. No. But does it form animosity if it's said out of pure intent of love and respect? I don't think so either. Mm-hmm. But that's a very specific situation, right? And it's like, when it comes to shit like that, it's like you said, it's context and it's tone. Mm-hmm. Like, it's tricky, but I do think that's a very valid way to look at it, because I do think there's nuances to that shit, man.
Which actually, now that you mention it, okay, so I say the N-word around just people I'm very comfortable with. I rarely, or actually when I'm kind of just pissed these days.
Why?
Yeah, when I'm actually pissed.
That's tough.
No, when I'm pissed, I think that's when I actually say it these days. I don't say it as
which is probably because your filter is less.
Yeah, I've kind of replaced it with fool. I say fool more now.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the Hispanic equivalent. You know what I mean?
But there was a point. So it was specifically at work. I was hanging around with people that I'm really cool with. You know, I'm talking. We've hung out outside of work and we've had comfortable conversations. And there's this other guy. You know, I thought I was cool with. You know, I've had some decent conversations with him. So, but I was talking to my friend, and then so you know I was saying, hey, we blah 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 blah, and so the other guy, he's like, hey, can you stop that? And I took it serious. I was like, I'm sorry, but then reminder, I hang out with these guys, so it was kind of just a form of comfortability with them. So as we kept talking, I said it again, and that was kind of like the last straw with them, because I was like dead, and I even apologized. I was like, hey, dude, I'm sorry. It's just it came out. I'm talking to them though, like not you. So he reported me to HR, and it almost got me fired, dude.
See,
I'm actually still cool with the guy. I didn't take it personally because again, I understand.
Yeah, no, you get it.
I get it, but it did piss me off at that moment because I'm like, damn, dude, like I wasn't even talking to you. You weren't even part of the conversation. But again, it's just a more of like understanding and watching the environment too. Sometimes you do have to be careful.
Which I think, here's the thing. Because I kind of have a voice, but I really don't have a voice in that conversation. And the voice, because like I'm in this weird points where I'm an African American, but I'm an African American particularly by citizenship, not by birth. And in that instance, I'm more so African than I am really African American. And so when it comes to the race conversation, and just so that people understand like where my stance is on it, I'm Ethiopian. So it's very difficult for me on a cultural level to identify in particular solely to the Black American struggle, which is difficult because I still deal with the repercussions of the injustice against the Black American. But because I am an African and by like ethnicity, like, and where my family's from, culturally speaking, and an African American by nationality and citizenship, it's like I'm in an unhappy medium. Because when it comes to the conversation of who should say the N-word and who should, in theory, it should be like this thing that anybody of color should have access to, air quote, right? Because it's this form of it's a form of disrespect and belittlement that has become a term of endearment. And what is like the Cliff Notes version of that? Well, to be quite honest, not even just the Black American, but just kind of like the slave. I really, because there's this overarching narrative in history where it's like, oh, the Black, person is the slave and the white person is like the master, supreme master, whatever the case may be. It's like the American like nuance of white versus Black, right? And I feel if you look at it from a historical level, it's just always been there are those who enslave others and those who just live in community, I feel. You know what I mean? And it's this idea of there are selfish people and selfless people. That's something I've always noticed in history. And when it comes to the topic of slavery, this kind of thing and the nuance of like the N-word, or what I mean? Like the harsh, originality of the word. It's like, I think.
I'm going to have to find a way to bleep that, I think.
No, yeah, you're definitely you're just going to have to just like have that all as like a bar.
I was like, son of a bitch.
But like, just to get the point across, it's like, it started as a form of like, disrespect and bringing down, but where it's at now with the GA, it's like the history of the Black American, the African American, is that they've taken what is supposed to be like lesser than and made it greater because of who they are, because they're a resourceful people, right? And so there's a lot of ways to look at the use of the term, but it's almost in that solidarity of the history of this was used to decrease me, but I use it to uplift me, right? In the modern day. And there are still certain people who are like, no, this word has always been bad. It originated in error, and it is error because of its origin. That's a valid point. If you look at the denotative origin of words is final, but the sad reality is language is not solid. It's fluid, and words evolve meaning, and they change meaning over time because at the end of the day, they are just symbols we use to communicate thoughts that we all have, which you can get into a deeper philosophical conversation of like the ontology of words and like the origin of meaning, but that's not this conversation.
Yeah.
and because of that, it's like when it comes to like the N word, it's like, yeah, I personally like if people really wanted my serious thoughts on the matter, I don't think anybody that's not of the Black American plight should say the word. Now, here's the cool thing about that statement. Should is a very dangerous word because should implies a standard or a law or a moral code of sorts or an ethic, like an agreed upon or an unspoken or a contextual like rule behind it, right? And that purely depends upon who you talk to.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, hey, I don't think anyone should limit what you say, but what you say has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that word holds a very heavy consequence because it's history. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm not criminalizing anybody who says the word to me, but context and tone. I'm paying attention to both. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because depending on the context you say it to me and the tone you will depend on whether or not I slap the shit out of you or whether I hug you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I just think that's something that just has to be considered because a lot of people don't understand the historical origin of that word, which is a very demonic and abusive word, but a culture made it not that. And because the culture did, it seemed acceptable, but it's not acceptable for others. It's just, hey, this is what we have to deal with our trauma, which is another thing which is difficult because a lot of Black Americans hold so much trauma within their identity because their cultural identity was stripped away at such a, I mean, not an early stage, but just such a long time ago that imagine being a people of no history, even though you have a rich history. Very dangerous what that can do to people, especially when you introduce the social engineering of the projects. So, you know, I don't want to get into too hotep about it, but it's still February. And, you know, shout out Black History Month, right? Black History Month. And I think at the very least, one thing I can say on the topic, it's like, hey, we need to not forget history so that we don't repeat it. And that means we can't write shit out of the history books. We can't forget things. And we have to remind ourselves. Like even right now it's happening in Gaza, right?
Yeah.
Fucked up, horrible, but here's the thing. It was engineered in such a way behind the scenes to where something like this can happen in the world the way it is right now. It can't. We're reacting, but we're not impacting. And there's so much more there. But like, you know what I mean? And I feel that, and that comes from us really doing our job to educate, which is why America is struggling with education because it's better for the people in power that maybe that people don't know these things, that aren't equipped to talk about these things.
Even Fort Worth itself is cutting its budget on public schools.
Dog, I'm telling you, it's where's the value at? Where's people's attentions at? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just needless to say, like that's just kind of stuff where I know like we started this off very lighthearted, but I don't mean it to go so deep, but it's like that's what we're dealing with when we have the conversation of that word. It's not like just the oh damn he told me not to say it and I said it. It's like it goes far deeper.
And it's good to know like and back to really history itself, like along with you know the history of that word and slavery and I mean
especially in the context of America, you know.
Yeah, right? The whole growth of America itself. That's the scary part right now. Like I don't even know what's being taught exactly in schools. Like my son only tells me so much, but you know, like I've heard stories here and there, like even one in Texas where I think they tried removing like the Ku Klux Klan out of the history books. Like I don't know, like it, and especially with AI, you know, coming out, you know, deep fakes, misinformation. The start of the Gaza war, people were producing AI photos of, you know, fake deaths and explosions going on in Gaza, which, you know, weren't true at all. Besides the actual photography from photographers in Gaza. But like it's good to have facts. It's good to pay attention to history itself and stay educated because especially in these days, it seems a lot of history even now is either trying to be rewritten in the moment or they're trying to hide stuff from the past and have, you know, people forget certain things or be more acceptable to things that shouldn't be.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's just really, I think that's just kind of where things are headed. just with the information age and AI technology.
Uh-huh.
Not to even speak about quantum computing. If those of y'all listening and watching, look that up. Quantum computing.
Yeah,
Like,
I actually have I hope to do some research this weekend because I have a couple fucking posts on my phone, which one of them is quantum computing. There was a little article I saw. I didn't get to read it yet.
Yes, that's definitely like a Rodrigo topic for sure. I would love to bring it back for us to dive deep into that, like just get like breakdown, because I feel like that's some stuff that's coming. But it's just in this world to where, like you said, like truth, what matters, what doesn't, like all these things are becoming blurred. We do have a responsibility to. I think there is going to be a responsibility at some point. That's like a social, like a. Everybody should have that responsibility, or should. Once again, should, dangerous word, right? Everyone should have some level of respect for what is,
But
like what actually is.
It's true though.
But because of the meta world and like all these new technologies happening, is what is real going to even matter anymore? But what people perceive. I'm just saying, like it's this world that we are coming into, and if we don't do our due diligence of educating and equipping the next generation as well as ourselves, we will see that happen more and more. Certainty, identity, sense of self go away. You know, and that's a pretty scary thing for humans. But you know. Who am I to say? I'm probably gonna be. I'm gonna be twerking. Off
This is all just blubber blabber.
Blibba blob.
Blubber blabber.
Nah, man. But dang, I actually, you know what's crazy? I actually wanted to dive into what's it called?
Was it
this conversation like growth mindset and fixed mindset? But that was a lot more deeper than I thought we were gonna get on that. But I do want to bring it up. I guess we can because we're getting to that hour point. Ooh. But I do want to bring this conversation up because I had a meeting earlier today, with I guess what started off as an acquaintance, but now I'd consider a good friend, and we got in the conversation, the thing we were doing, we got on the conversation like fixed mindset and growth mindset, and I kind of wanted to bring that to the pod because like the more and more we do this podcast and we stay consistent with it, you know, the more and more I just, because I'm such an obsessive person with shit, always try to like look for ways to improve shit or like optimize. That's just the type of nigga I am.
Okay.
And like when I got in that when I was like talking about that, I was like, wow, I'm glad I'm in this mode though, because it shows how much of a growth mindset I have. Because I remember before there was a time, not too long ago, but long ago enough to where I was like, if I saw a vision of what I would be doing now a certain amount of time ago, years ago, I probably wouldn't want any of it. Like genuinely. And I think it would be because it took a while to understand what having a growth mindset really was. Because I've always heard the terminology and everyone's like, okay, you want to have a growth mindset for success. Yeah. But I don't think people really understand how tricky that might be to actually attain, because you have to be open. And not just open in the sense of like just anything comes in. Oh, yeah. But like you have to be open with the intent of growth.
Yes.
So it's not just like, oh, I'll just accept what anyone says. It's like, no, my goal is to become more, become better, become more aligned. And something I've been learning and kind of like growing to understand with the fixed mindset as opposed to the growth mindset is like, there's so many things in my life I have a fixed mindset about. So, because like, yes, there's a paradigm of being where it's like, okay, I have a growth mindset as a person, but I think that that's attached to different things. Like, for instance, right now, between me and you, although it sounds funny and humorous, I would have a fixed mindset to say I can't become an professional NBA player right now. Because it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Have a growth mindset. You're totally able to become anything you want to be, right? Right? Like you do think based off the premise, like the surface level of what that would mean. But if you really get to it, it's like, no, I would actually be saying something from a growth-based mindset, because it's not that I can't be an NBA player. It's very improbable for me to be an NBA player because of the amount of work and effort and conditioning it takes to even play in the NBA. And I'm fucking 27. There's people like in the peaks of their career at 27, and
Yerp.
I am nowhere near my peak physical shape. So like for me to think that would actually be high level of hubris and a high level of delusion
No.
with a very low level of practicality and realistic like potential. Now, is it impossible? No, but very improbable.
Yes.
And that that understanding to me was when I kind of fully came into the understanding what the growth mindset is.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I don't know, I guess I wanted to open up the conversation and is, what is your relationship, one, to the conversation of fixed mindset versus growth? And I think both of us are of the growth mindset, so I don't think we need to harp too much on like which side we're on.
Yeah.
But it's more so like, what has been your growth or understanding of that duality, that conversation, and has there been any situations where it's like you realize how much you were one or the other that's caused you to change? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Caused me to change? I mean, fixed mindset.
Or even if there's any stories that you caused, like,
so I mean, people
about
tell me, so fixed mindset in regards, I would say being an art, like a hip hop artist or singer or some shit. I've had people tell me that I can write or I should write for people or make a song or a project of sort. Sometimes I'm still open to it just to fuck around and find out, but at the same time, like, I don't think it would actually ever go anywhere. So that's my fixed mindset in something like that. But then in growth mindset, it's like, perhaps I actually could if I really put all my time into it, actually studied everything. Yeah. But I'm focused on other shit.
Yeah, which to me, I'm like, that's a very real thing. Like, I don't know. It's weird because the conversation of it, it's like, it seems so simple.
Yeah.
But if you really live it out, I feel people don't understand what it really is, because I feel like more people have a fixed mindset. I think the majority of people have more of a fixed mindset just in life.
I think what's a perfect example of fixed mindset is, I mean, even what's going on in the economy of America right now, a lot of people are stuck in that set where, like, I can't grow because of this and that. Mm-hmm. And
or my financial future is limited because of this, and this.
Which I get shit like that to a point, because I have people at my work where they're some of them they get personal with me and they tell me their problems and stuff, and I'm just like,
you have to be receptive.
I wish I could be like, fuck, man, I wish I could help you more, but I kind of just have to sit here and listen and kind of feel bad, but at the same time, like, if you really want to get what you want, if you want to do more and stuff, like, you have to have that growth mindset and be like, okay, what do I really need to sacrifice, or what do I need to do to get put in the position of perhaps leveling up, rather, again, in the fixed mindset of like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it because I'm getting no callbacks from these jobs applications I sent in, or I don't have time to study on this even though I want to. I can't do this because of my wife or husband is feeling this way, this and that, which that's a different conversation, like the relationship of your partner and, trying to do stuff.
Which I think is a relatively cheap reason.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, to be honest. But stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, that's so weird to me, because, like, imagine even the thought of listening to somebody complain about something, right? I think it's because of my experience with, like, door-to-door sales, but, like, my patience for a fixed mindset is relatively low.
Yeah.
Relatively low, and relative to the average person. Because although I have a high barrier of just tolerating bullshit from people, just because typically I don't care, so it's easy to tolerate it. But when it comes to, like, okay, now we're having the conversation on the topic of, you want to do this, right? And in order to do this, there are certain requirements that this asks for, which is this, and this. It's one thing if you don't know the requirements, but then if you do, and you still believe you're incapable of this, but you're aware of what it takes to do this, and you're not willing to do this, and this, I have very little patience. Like, it's almost like there's, like, ticking time bomb in my head to where it's like, I just want to disassociate from listening to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Because everything out of your mouth is just an excuse to when it's like, hey, I think everything is valid if people don't want to have that achieve result. But a lot of people say, like, for instance, artists, I want to create an amazing experience, or I want to do this, and this. I'm like, all right, cool. So, in order to do that, you need to put this amount of hours into this, save a certain budget to do this. And even if you don't need the money to do this, you could still invest that in time in this, and this.
Yeah.
And then once you start saying all that shit, they're like, but I don't want to do all that, but I still want this. It's like, okay, now I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Because your fixed mindset is showing me. Like you have this delusion or cognitive dissonance, and you have a perspective of how you want things to happen.
Yeah.
But that is not the only way things can happen. And then you obsessing about that being the only way for it to happen limits the opportunity for it to happen in your life.
Yeah, it sets yourself up for chaos, honestly, because if it goes sideways, then
you're fucked.
You're losing.
You're losing it. You have a breakdown. You're like, why is everything not working out for me? It's because you haven't allowed for the opportunities that could have helped you.
For real, though.
And that's to me, that's the biggest detriment, I guess really on this conversation point that I just like, it just kind of dawned on me today. I just wanted to at least talk about it in the pod was like, the nuance between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset is simply that the growth mindset understands what it takes and is willing to be patient.
Yeah, for real though. It takes a lot of fucking patience.
Yeah, I really think that's kind of like the main nuance in the mindsets and kind of their differences.
If you're trying to grow, you definitely got to look at shit long term.
You have to.
You got to believe in the short term, but think about the long term.
Exactly. Yeah, because like the short term, you have to execute to get there, right? So it's like it's establishing the steps that will eventually become a ladder to your success. So it's
definitely having that mindset. Because shit, I'm gonna use my house for example.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I love my house. It's not my dream house. Obviously, I'm gonna have better in the future, but I got a house in a shorter time frame. I had the short term goal in mind that I can make this happen, but I wasn't planning on it. I already had the long term goal in mind, but I made it happen quicker than I thought. And I mean, that just comes to say, like, again, if you have that mindset, if you go into things, I mean, you can get what you want and you can achieve. You could get better at a skill or something or reach a goal and stuff, but it's about, believing it and thinking about the patience it's going to take to get there.
Genuinely. It's bars. I mean, shit. On that note, are we ready for the music segment?
Oh, shit, bro. We're ready for the music segment.
Yes, sir. We're ready I
actually hope you like the song, man.
Dude,
I like it.
We're about to find the fuck out, yo.
It's
okay, so
we're a sad song, but I like it.
We're starting out with MGK people. All right. So you know,
a lot of most people I met are not a fucking fan of him. I'm sorry, but I like the guy. I mean, okay, honestly,
I enjoy some of his music.
His actions, I'm not too proud of. He could be a better person on some instances.
I think he's a great dad, though. Shout out to you,
great dad for sure.
I will say, I'll give him the cool points on being a really solid dad and president of his daughter's life.
For real.
At least what we know.
Yes. So. But I mean, I like his music. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. He's actually one of the first few artists that got me back into hip hop and getting the whole realm of hip hop. Because growing up, I listened to just a little bit of Texas South hip hop.
Gotcha.
But
like Bun B and shit like that. Or like a DJ Screw or whatnot.
Yes, sir. DJ Screw.
Fucking
trying to remember
SPM.
There you go. I was like,
his
name was leaving my mind. I was like, who the fuck?
That's that shit right there. That's that H-Town shit.
But I don't know. I just kind of faded away, and eventually, I don't know. I came across MGK and some other artists like Wiz Khalifa, and I was listening to Eminem again for some reason. Which I mean, Eminem is great, but
yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I like MGK's music, man.
All right, Don't Let Me Go, MGK. Let's see what the vibes is. Hold up. I just realized it was playing on the main one.
Oh.
Because I was testing the audio earlier. Okay, now let's hear it again from the top. All right. That's audio. That's a good one to end on, TBH.
Yeah.
Can't do that to her.
Yeah.
By The Sinceres and Joey Canones.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's
yeah,
hard.
bro.
Shit. Well, I mean, man, what we got? I guess that's the pot right there.
That's kind of it right there.
Uh,
You know,
I
I
guess
mean,
follow
is
us.
there
Yeah.
anything you got going on this weekend, real quick?
Man, dude, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm just recording another pod tomorrow over here, so I would say everybody be on the lookout for an announcement from us soon about when we're doing our next event, which will be a Smash tournament, just so that you all know. Biggest thing right now has just been getting a lot of the logistics figured out, but yeah, I guess really that's really the only thing I can tell people because right now it's going to be a chill weekend, honestly, on our end.
Yeah, I mean, all I do is plan on editing and doing some studying. I haven't been able to study the last 2 days, and I'm sad about that. I had my son, and I went to bed early. I usually go to bed earlier when I have my son. But yeah, I plan on studying this weekend and going to the comedy club. So that'll be
man.
yeah.
Well, I guess till further notice, we love y'all.
Honestly, yeah.
And
good night.
Night.